Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing, Inc.
A surprise resignation from the Bahamas governing party, and the MP has stinging criticism for the administration's post-Hurricane Dorian efforts. Our top story in Caribbean Newsline for Friday, October 11th from the CMC News Center in Bridgetown. I'm Dawn Paris. Good evening. Shockwaves on the Bahamas political scene as a member of the Free National Movement leaves the party to sit as an independent member of Parliament. And he has some harsh words for the administration, which he was part of up until Thursday. Centerville MP Reese Chipman has resigned over the Dr. Hubert Minnis-led administration's handling of the situation in the country after Hurricane Dorian struck last month. And he pulled no punches, as he said more lives could have been saved if government had just followed existing legislation. Hurricane Dorian devastated Abaco and Grand Bahama, killing at least 61 people during its slow passage over the northern Bahamas from September 1st to 3rd. At a press conference on Thursday, Chipman said the government had to be held accountable for those deaths. He also criticized the ruling party's work ethic and said the direction it was taking was not in the best interest of Bahamian people. The MP, who defeated former Prime Minister Perry Christie in the 2017 general elections, said his resignation was a move he was considering since he stepped down from the Public Accounts Committee in January this year. And as we hear in this report from Janelle Longley of Eyewitness News, he confirmed to the media that the Hurricane Dorian situation was the deciding factor.
When Bahamian lives are lost, and the way you would have seen lives on the street, definitely there is some accountability that needs to take place from the government. We have a Disaster Preparedness and a Response Act that should have been followed. The act was in place since 2008. Had we done the annual review and the annual planning from 2008, I'm not saying that we would have saved all the lives, but at the very least, we would have done what we were supposed to do.
The Centerville MP suggested that the Minnis-led government failed the Bahamian people in the aftermath of Dorian, and it's imperative that he becomes independent of partisan politics.
And then they come to Parliament with one piece of paper say evacuation order. Really? Come on, man, let's do some work.
Chipman, in a letter to the F&M chairman Carl Culmer and House Speaker Howson Moultrie, expressed his need to become independent of institutional misphilosophies and of a system where dictatorship continues to lead to regression.
The leadership lacks truth. The type of truth that believes in people, that believe in what is good and what is right, the type of truth that believes in the law. Insecure leadership cannot work in a democratic country. Fix our parliament and you fix our country.
He was also asked whether or not he would consider representing the opposition in the next general election if the offer was on the table, and he had this to say.
Right now, I'm not entertaining parties unless the parties commit themselves to changing their constitution to make the Bahamian people the beneficiaries of their party and the Bahamas.
In the Bahamas, more than 100 Haitian migrants have been deported less than 2 weeks after Prime Minister Minnis warned illegal migrants to leave the country voluntarily or be forced out. The repatriations have come 6 weeks after Hurricane Dorian leveled communities in Abaco and Grand Bahama, which had a large Haitian community. A statement from the Department of Immigration said 121 Haitians, including 21 females, were put on a Bahamas Air flight to Port-au-Prince and they were escorted by law enforcement officers. It's unclear how many storm-affected Haitians were among those deported. The Immigration Department said it would continue its commitment to carrying out the mandates of the agency to combat illegal immigration. The move to deport the nationals of the French-speaking CARICOM nation has been controversial, coming in the aftermath of Dorian. Well, an opposition group in Haiti has chosen what it says is a transitional government, even as President Jovenel Moïse insists he is not stepping down. The Alternative Consensual for the Refoundation of Haiti says it has installed 9 members to its Commission of Transfer of Power mission. It said the commission will, among other tasks, plan the immediate and orderly departure of President Moïse, propose a list of 3 judges of the Court of Cassation, one of whom will be designated to be the temporary president of Haiti. But Charles Faustin, an advisor to Moïse, said the head of state had no intention of heeding resignation calls and has been very critical of the opposition leaders, whom he said are turning Haiti into a second Somalia. Details are emerging about the corruption charges laid against Jamaica's former education minister, Roel Reid, and 4 others. Reid, his wife and daughter, as well as president of the Caribbean Maritime University, Professor Fritz Pinnock, and councillor of the Brownstown Division in St. Anne, Kim Brown Lawrence, appeared in court on Thursday on several corruption-related offences. The 5 were arrested on Wednesday following early morning police raids on their homes. We get more in this report from TVJ News.
Pleasantries aside, Clerk of Court Hansard Lawson outlined that from October 2018, investigators began a probe which uncovered several breaches of the Proceeds of Crime, Larceny and Corruption Prevention Acts. Investigators claim that $56 million was diverted from the CMU and Education Ministry for personal use by Mr. Reid. Here's how. Fictitious invoices and memos were created to support the scheme through the Career Advancement Program Youth Employment Solutions CAPES. Persons such as Councillor Brown Lawrence got contracts to provide meals to students, but there were no meals. Still, Professor Fritz Pinnock would authorize payments. The contractors would then transfer the money to Mr. Reid's bank account or hand it personally to him. Other persons were even employed to provide certain duties for Mr. Reid, including close protection officers and drivers. So, how does the daughter fit in? Well, Mr. Reid was entitled to a domestic helper as education minister, and the ministry would pay for the services. So the helper was hired to the ministry without her knowledge. A bank account was opened so that Mr. Reid could get access to the funds. He told his daughter to take the debit card from the helper once the account was opened. As for the wife, she allegedly received over $1 million from the helper's bank account. The court was also told that Mr. Reid used his position as education minister to influence the employment of persons to the CMU. One such person, his wife, Sharon, who is the legal affairs manager. The clerk of court said Mr. Reid instructed Mr. Pinnock to hire his wife.
Meantime, Justice Minister Delroy Chuck has admitted that statements he made regarding the arrest were inappropriate and he has withdrawn them. Let's hear first what he said that drew criticism and a call by the youth arm of the main opposition People's National Party for his resignation.
The arrest took place, which looks like Nicodemus in the night. I don't get the impression that these persons are actually running away. They have made themselves available on all occasions. So in fact, if an arrest should have been made, they could easily have been asked to come in so that they could be charged. And in these persons' cases, if they're to be charged, the impression I suspect that they could easily have been granted their own bail, because these are persons, or they could be asked to surrender their travel documents, as the case may be. I think it's unfortunate that it has become so salacious in that, you put so many persons at these people's gate. And it appears in some instances, from the little I've heard, is further search and further search for more material. So it seems like the authorities are still not sure what they're looking for.
Well, opposition spokesperson on justice, Donna Scott Motley, had called on Chuck to apologize for those comments and the PNP Youth Organization said the Justice Minister's statements had eroded any confidence he would not interfere with the investigation or prosecution of the case, and he should therefore recuse himself from his position. Chuck, whose daughter was one of the defense attorneys in the matter, took note of the criticisms and pulled back his comments. He said his statements were partly due to the fact that the media had been present at all locations where the police executed search warrants on Wednesday morning.
However, as Justice Minister, my comments were inappropriate and I duly withdraw them in their entirety.
Coming up in Caribbean Newsline, a court victory for the former Speaker of Parliament in Antigua. The details after the break.
When we look at the characteristics of storms that are responsible for death in our region, we experience more fatalities related to storm surge and to major rain and flooding.
This is nobody's life, and I don't want to see the next hurricane like this.
My neighbor roof gone. Boy, watch out. All you don't see what we see.
Welcome to a special episode of Let's Talk Tobago. As we commemorate our 43rd anniversary as a republic, we have highlights of the Tobago celebrations, starting with the Republic Day Parade.
We pick up in Antigua and Barbuda, where former Speaker of the House of Representatives and Executive Secretary of the Board of Education, D. Giselle Isaac, no longer has fraud-related charges hanging over her head. That's because the jury in her trial was on Friday directed to return not guilty verdicts on all 3 counts after Queen's Counsel Dane Hamilton successfully argued before Justice Stanley John that there was no case to answer. Isaac's trial had begun on a Wednesday, more than 4 years after it was alleged she had illegally obtained 9,000 EC dollars for Algernon Watts, a debt collector bailiff from the Board of Education. Both Watts and Isaac, who was a speaker under the previous United Progressive Party administration, were arrested in June 2015, a year after the Antigua Labour Party took office. Isaac had also been charged with fraudulently applying almost 14,000 EC dollars for Watts' benefit between February 2013 and March 2014. Speaking to reporters after emerging from the court, the former House Speaker said there was never a case. Isaac said, quote, "I did nothing wrong and I will stand secure in that knowledge I did nothing wrong," end quote. The founder of the Transformed Life Ministry and Rehab Center in Trinidad and Tobago, from which almost 70 people were rescued by police earlier this week, is defending operations at the facility. Pastor Glenn Awong said his intentions were pure, and he alleged that the raid on his center was politically motivated. TTT's Crystal Wilson reports.
"I am not involved in human trafficking, and I do not torture people." This from Pastor Glenn Awong, founder of the Transformed Life Ministry in Aruca, where 69 persons were on Wednesday rescued by members of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. 65 men and 4 women were removed from the facility, said to cater for the rehabilitation of drug addicts and mentally ill people who are violent. Mr. Awong said he thinks the attack on his business place is related to a matter in which he is suing the state for $1.4 million. Concerning allegations of abuse of patients and information that tasers and batons were found during the police's search of the premises, the pastor said those allegations are untrue. As for persons held in confinement, the Transformed Life Ministry founder said those are not cages.
So to deal with mental clients, you have to have seclusional rooms. If you all visit St. Elizabeth home, you'll recognize have little children because when them trip off and get in a different mood, you have to have police to control them. To deal with mental clients, if you want to know what is seclusion room, we're doing sentence, and therefore when they trip off, we'll have clients will trip off, we'll have clients cut off their 9 toes in their foot.
Mr. Awong also rubbished reports that he and others employed at TLM were arrested. He said the rehab center was searched for several hours, after which the police left.
This week in Newsline Entertainment, Guyana celebrates natural beauty and a calypso to be taught in schools in Trinidad and Tobago. Marie-Claire Williams has the details.
Guyana will be celebrating all things natural hair and beauty this weekend. Curl Fetch is the brainchild of former Miss Guyana Universe, Tamika Henry Fraser. She says she started the event 4 years ago to encourage girls and women to embrace their natural beauty. This year's theme is Dollhouse.
So we chose the theme Dollhouse because we really wanted to emphasize that anybody could be beautiful. You don't have to look a certain way or to be of a certain height or a certain weight, a certain skin color to be considered beautiful. And traditionally, Barbie dolls kind of look one way until recently. But we're saying, you know what, when you come to Curl Fed, you are a Curl Fed doll and you are beautiful in whatever shape, form, or size you want to be.
Curl Fed began as a natural hair expo after Henry Fraser felt that girls with natural hair were not being celebrated enough. She says it has been successful so far and there is something for everyone.
We have beard care, we have some hairstyle tutorials, we have makeup competition, designer competition, barber competition. We have the big top competition as well, again this year. And then in the afternoon, we have the kiddie showcase where kids get to be Barbie dolls. And of course, the grand hair show, which starts at 5 p.m.
Students in Trinidad and Tobago will soon be learning calypso in the classroom. The Ministry of Education and the Trinbago Unified Calypsonians organization have signed an agreement for calypso to be taught as part of the Visual and Performing Arts curriculum. The move comes as TUCO celebrates Calypso History Month this month. Addressing the launch earlier this month, President of TUCO, Lutalo Masimba, highlighted the importance of the art form.
I think it is important, we know it is important for us to create a new framework to appreciate this art form. Most of us here, when we think of calypso, we think about carnival, and we say, yeah, it's carnival time, now we go hear some calypso. And when we say calypso, we mean all the different styles of calypso, whether it's a party music or as some people say soca, and soca is the soul of calypso.
Marie-Claire Williams, Newsline Entertainment.
Ahead in Newsline Sport, Barbados Tridents into the Caribbean Premier League final after beating Trinbago Knight Riders. We will tell you how they got there after the break.
Let me go to Voltage because Voltage is new. So let me ask Voltage, what is the worst date you ever went out on?
Well, I met this girl on Instagram, right? Yeah.
Instagram?
Yeah. We had a little thing going. So, like, we talk for like,
Hi, I'm Brittany Dixon, and you're watching Finding Fit, the show I pair up one client with two trainers. Trainer number one.
Oh my gosh.
It's about fitness, comedy.
You know, I can do this all day, you know.
Drama.
In future, we cannot be late.
Inspirational stories, and so much more. You are gonna love it. You can catch Finding Fit prime time this fall on CaribVision.
Time for sports, and underdogs Barbados Tridents will bid for their second Caribbean Premier League title in Saturday's final after trouncing Trinidad Night Riders for the third time in 3 weeks with a clinical 12-run victory. Sent in at the Brian Lara Stadium on Thursday night, the Tridents rallied to 160 for 6 off their 20 overs, with opener Johnson Charles top scoring with 35 and both Ashley Nurse and Raymond Reefer finishing unbeaten on 24. They were dawdling on 109 for 5 at the end of the 17th over, but Nurse and Reefer struck some lofty blows as the visitors gathered 51 runs from the last 3 overs of the innings. In reply, TKR were restricted to 148 all out with 3 balls left. They'd needed 20 runs from the last 12 balls, but left-arm seamers Reefer and Harry Gurney produced miserly overs to earn Tridents their place in the championship match. Sri Lankan Sigurd Pasana top scored for TKR with a swift 51 off 27 balls. For Tridents, the win clinched only their second final. They'll now take on unbeaten Guyana Amazon Warriors for their first title since 2014, when they edged the same opponents in a rain-affected encounter at Warner Park in St. Kitts. Staying with cricket, Trinidad and St. Kitts will host this year's Regional Super 50 starting next month. And Cricket West Indies is hoping the tournament provides an early launch pad for preparation for the 2023 World Cup in India. Title holders, combined campuses and colleges Marooners will headline Group A in St. Kitts, where Leeward Islands Hurricanes, Jamaica Scorpions, Barbados Pride and Canada will also do battle. Last year's losing finalists, Guyana Jaguars, will contest Group B in Trinidad alongside Windward Islands Volcanoes, United States, West Indies Emerging Players, and host Trinidad and Tobago Red Force. Warner Park and Connery Sports Complex will host matches in St. Kitts, while the historic Queen's Park Oval and the Brian Lara Stadium will be the stages for the Trinidad leg. A total of 40 group stage matches will be played, with the 2 groups running concurrently. Marooners will raise the curtain on the tournament when they clash with Hurricanes on November 6 at Warner Park, while Group B will get underway when Jaguars take on Emerging Players at the Brian Lara Stadium the following day. The Grenada government has signed a memorandum of understanding with China to refurbish the island's national stadium. Work on the sporting facility is expected to begin next year. GBN's Chrislina John has that story.
And His Excellency Ambassador Zhao Yongsheng of the People's Republic of China on Wednesday sealed a deal for restorative work on the National Cricket Stadium. Ambassador Zhao says a technical team will soon be on island to conduct assessments.
This is a new step between China and Grenada cooperation. So we will continue to support Grenada to develop economic and social development. So we hope we can make a close collaboration and cooperation in doing the new renovation of national key stadiums. According to Grenada and China government agenda, next year we will start renovation of the project.
Minister for Sport Nolan Cox, in expressing gratitude for China's continued support, highlighted some of the areas that will be upgraded.
Renovation will cover general maintenance, the audio, the fire system, the emergency, the scoreboard, seating, practically everything, the roof, everything, practically a general renovation in its entirety. Make sure elevators are working, everything will be looked at in its entirety throughout. So there was a walkthrough from a technical team from China together with a technical team from the Ministry of Works, that led to this document being prepared. So they know what is to be done.
Renovation is expected to begin during the latter half of 2020. Wednesday's signing ceremony was the second to have taken place in the last month. The first was to undertake maintenance on the athletic stadium. 8 engineers from the People's Republic of China are presently on island and will be here for the next 3 years. During this time, locals will understudy them to carry on the maintenance process. Most of the expenses for the projects will be undertaken by the People's Republic of China. The National Cricket Stadium was originally constructed by the People's Republic of China, and the stadium was established in 1999 at a cost of $5 million.
Newly appointed coach of the Guyana Golden Jaguars, Marcio Maximo, is hoping his team, which includes a mixture of local and international players, will deliver back-to-back victories in their CONCACAF Nations League clashes against Antigua and Barbuda.
Of two very important encounters in the CONCACAF Nations League, head coach of the Golden Jaguars, Marcio Maximo, has released the names of players making up his 22-man squad that takes on Antigua and Barbuda on Friday, October 11 at the Sir Vivian Richards Stadium, and on Monday, October 14 on the west side at the Lenora National Track and Field Center. Boasting a balance of local and overseas-based players, the Golden Jaguars will be aiming for back-to-back wins in their quest to further consolidate their current second place in Group C. The local-based players have been going through their paces with head of sports science Wilson Toledo and head coach Maximo ever since Guyana's 4-0 loss to Jamaica, aimed at claiming full points in both matches. Recalled to the team are goalkeeper C.C. Norville, defenders Cadell Daniel and Kevin Dundas, midfielder Elliot Bonds, along with forwards Treon Bob and Emily Welchman. Guyana will face the home team from 17 hours on Friday at the Sir Vivian Richards Stadium and return to these shores on Saturday ahead of next Monday's return match against the Antiguans at the Lenora National Track and Field Center from 20 hours. The 22-man team will feature Akel Clark, Alex Murray, C.C. Norville, Sam Cox, Sherwin Skeet, Kevin Lane, Raphael Edwards, Matthew Briggs, Cadell Daniels, Kevin Dundas, Neil Dans, Clive Nobrega, Daniel Wilson, Delwyn Fraser, Elliot Bonds, Ryan Hackett, Kesley Benjamin, Keanu Marsh-Brown, Parnell Charles, Treon Bob, Sheldon Holder, and Emery Welchman.
And that's the sport. We'll be right back.
Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc.
There we go, that's a big fish. There you go, Charlie. I thought it was big, and it's okay. We still like you. There's no bullying here. Alert, warning, warning. How are you, Larry? How's your summer going, huh? You look great. Huh? What you bronzing with, huh? Okay. I don't like when the fish talk to me, and they're rude. I like to just fish. I like catching anything. Anything is the key word. And today, that's what we're doing, we're catching anything. This is all very, very...
Again, the major developments of this day, a Bahamian MP resigned from the ruling party over government's handling of the situation in the country after Hurricane Dorian. And that's Caribbean Newsline. For news and sports round the clock, subscribe to economynews.com. For more of our programming, log on to CaribVision.tv and check out our YouTube channel. We'll be back here on Monday, but from all of us at Changing News, thank you for watching and good night.